Time to run down Forex, futures, and crypto. All right, we start with the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar. Still holding above this pivot area here at 9774. Going to continue to hold that position. Australian dollar, Swiss franc, same thing, still holding above this range area. There's definitely some room here for some consolidation, but I'm going to continue to hold that position unless the trend really changes. So as long as we stay above the 6.8 area, the 6.750 area, trend is still to the upside. Australian dollar, Japanese yen, same thing. I'm going to trim a little bit of this position. It's a little stretched, and the pivot is not down till 78.85, so there's a lot of room here as well. And given how the overall market has been booming, no reason to actually sell, but I'm just going to take some profits. You can never go broke taking profits. Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, nothing there. Australian dollar, US dollar, still holding this position. We shorted the euro yesterday, which is, I think, in the money, I believe. We'll get to that later, but the dollar is starting to perk up. We'll get to the US dollar against the Mexican peso as well later. We got stopped out of that. So I'm a little cautious with this. It's been a great hold. It's a great breakout, but nothing moves in a straight line forever. So I'm keeping a close eye out on any dollar pairs. If I get any close below 76.42, I'm going to take profits. And this is another reason why I feel this way about the dollar. Bitcoin still, this is an extraordinary move. Buying this breakout, we never thought that it would have doubled in the span of really less than a month. So this run will eventually stop. There's this wider range area here to focus on. As long as we stay above here, the overall trend is intact. But I think once we get below 36,500, there could be some selling back into this range. So keep a close eye out on that. It's not going to go up every day. So eventually there's going to be some heavy selling. CAD Swiss, nothing. CAD Yen, testing the top end of the range again. See how it acts. I actually took off a third of the position today because there's a lot of space down here to 80, 50. So let's just see how it behaves. If we can clear above there, then that breakout trade might be on. This is a huge range. So I just sold some just to reduce some Japanese yen exposure. But that trend is still intact. Crude oil, wish I had it. Don't. Keeps powering higher. You can use the low of this week as a pivot. As long as we stay above here, the trend is still higher. Mini S&P, same thing. 36.76, line in the sand. A little bit of selling today, but it's normal. We've had a great 3 days. But that's kind of line in the sand. As long as we stay above there, the immediate term trend is still to the upside. Ethereum. So Ethereum is interesting because Ethereum's down today, even though Bitcoin is up, but it's the same exact theme. If we get a close below this 1140 area, we could see some significant selling back down to where it was earlier today. But same thing as Bitcoin. It's not going to go up forever, so just be cautious. Euro Aussie, this game plan worked out. Continuing to hold to the short side, although it's getting a little stretched. So I sold some Australian dollar, Japanese yen. We'll get to Euro New Zealand. That reversal trade from earlier this week, I actually took off a third of that position. I think I'm going to take some profits in this toward the end of the day as well. It's been a good run to the downside. There's a lot of room here, even though the trend is still down. Eventually there'll be a bounce. I do like the rate of change kind of picking up, but again, it's been a big move since October. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some buying. But the trend is still down. Euro CAD, nothing. Euro Swiss, nothing. Euro Pound looks like it might start to roll over here. If we can get it closed below 89.34, then I'd really play that breakout to the downside. Euro Yen. Messing with the high end of the range here. Pivot is down here at 126. I will, if there's any real selling or broader equity market selling, I'm definitely going to play the reversal here. I think there's a good setup. So let's see. If we can get below like this trend line within this box and then continue to go downward below 126, I'll play that reversal. But for now, the trend is still to the upside and it's a no touch. Euro New Zealand. Okay, this is what we talked about earlier this week. Trend is still down and it's breaking below this range, but as you can see these past couple of days, there's no real significant selling. I'm watching this closely. I took off a third of this position. If we get a close above 1.6977, I'm actually going to buy it, try to buy it again on a reversal play back into the range. But for now, the trend is still bearish, but I got to keep a close eye out on this one. Euro dollar, played this short yesterday. So far, so good. Would like to see 21, the low end of the range, but stop is all the way up here, so I'm giving it some room. Let's see how this plays out. One day so far is not bad, but see how it plays out next week. Pound Australian dollar, similar to the euro. Australian dollar, low end of the range. Watching it closely. See how it reacts next week. If we get some significant close above 175.80, might take a reversal play back toward the high end of the range, but just keeping a close eye out on that. Pound CAD, nothing. Pound Swiss still holding long, although it's been doing nothing now for a couple weeks. Let's see. I mean, ideally, if it can clear $1.21, then we can see the top end of the range. But if we get a close below 1.19, then I'll consider cutting the position. But right now, it's no man's land. Pound yen still looks like it wants to break out, but just like the euro yen, it's kind of hovering around here. So let's watch it. There could be a bigger reversal play potential if there's any selling in the equity market or risk trends in general. But for now, the trend is still higher, so I'm not going to fight it. Pound New Zealand, nothing really here. If we can get down to 185.23, then there might be a breakout to the downside or a reversal play, depending on how it reacts. But similar to Euro Yen, it's selling is kind of slowed, so I'm just keeping a close eye out on it. But don't have a position there yet. Pound dollar still holding long, looking for this breakout. These past 3 days haven't really given me any encouragement, but it still continued to hold above this range. As long as it holds above the range, I still think the trend is higher. But if we get any close below 1.3429, I'm going to cut the position. Gold. So this is a reversal back into this range. It is strong. Today is a big down move. He'll do a post about this later. It has a little bit more detail, but I think the trend is bearish here in gold now. I think as long as this day is not taken out to the upside, we could easily revisit these lows in late November, early December. If there's any bounce in these next couple of days, I actually might sell this, but I don't really want to sell it right now. Down 3.5%, but I'm going to do a post about this one for sure later today and this weekend because this goes into that dollar strength theme that I was talking about briefly with the euro, and then getting stopped out of the Mexican peso position, and now gold's giving it up today. So just keeping an eye out on the dollar. It's been very oversold, and so when there is a bounce, it can come quickly. And gold is giving you an example of that today. So just watch this. But again, like I said, I'll do a post on that. But this area now is officially bearish, in my opinion. Copper, though, still staying strong. So there is some divergence a little bit because you'd think that the dollar would hit copper a little, but it hasn't. It is slowing. You can see the rate of change on a monthly basis is slowing for sure, but it's still positive. And it actually kind of got a boost up this week. So I'm not going to fight that. Just keeping a close eye on it. So Chainlink poked its head below the support area, but it's still within it. I mean, ironically, given how Bitcoin and Ethereum have performed, I'm not sure why Chainlink has lagged so much. There obviously is some reason. I don't know the space that well because I don't trade anything based on fundamentals. As long as it holds this box, the trend is still to the upside, in my opinion. Maybe we'll get some divergence. Maybe this will go higher while Bitcoin sells off a little bit or Ethereum sells off a little bit. But for now, I still think the trend is up unless we get a close below 14, basically 14. As long as we don't close below here, we're good to the upside. Litecoin, so you can see this near-term range set up on a daily basis. It's been flirting with that par. The trend is still higher, but just like with Bitcoin and Ethereum, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some selling next week. But you have 139 as a pivot area. As long as we stay above there, the trend is definitely still to the upside. If we get any significant close below there, then there might be some more selling. Natural gas not in it. Nikkei, I mean, I don't even. Huge day today. It's insane. We got some acceleration as well on the rate of change basis. The trend is still higher. As long as we stay above 2699955, the trend is definitely still higher, although I don't have a position in there. NASDAQ, big day today, holding the top end of this range well. Again, unless we get a rollover, trend is still higher. New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar, similar to the Australian dollar setup. I don't have a position in here, but the trend is still higher. Actually, let me go back to that. So you have this box right here. As long as we can see how price reacts to this area when it re-enters, but overall the trend is still up. But it'll be interesting to watch it here to see how it closes. There could be a good reversal play back deeper into the range if we can get a close below 9131. But let's see, no position there yet. New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc. I cut a third of this position today, although it's still holding up strong. So this broader range breakout is intact. You have this smaller, more weekly range here. It's still holding above it. As long as we don't break 6.63 cents, the trend is definitely still to the upside, although I did trim today, given the New Zealand dollar's weakness. Same thing, New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen. I haven't touched this position, but also watching closely because I'd definitely be willing to take trim and take some profits, but the trend is still up. Anything above 73.80 is definitely still upward trend. New Zealand dollar, US dollar, watching closely, but trend is still higher. But the dollar has been stretched, so I'm really watching closely. New Zealand dollar in particular. But again, nothing yet. So we'll see what next week brings. Palladium had a little bit of a sell-off, but nothing. Still well within this huge range area. And you can go back. It's been playing with this area kind of for a long time, so nothing new there. Platinum, I cut the platinum position today. I don't know if that was the wisest move because it is still technically in an upward trend. But I didn't like the selling today, and it was already a good winner. So I just took profits. And again, this dollar theme is, just keeping me a little cautious because similar to the way gold rolled over, platinum kind of behaved similarly today, although on a relative basis, platinum is outperforming. But there's nothing wrong with taking some profits here. I'll definitely have an update if we can get any price move back above the range with strength or down below the range potentially for more of a reversal. But right now I'm out. Russell down today, but still strong. Nothing new there. Silver back into the range. Again, like gold. I'll talk about it in the post, but there could be more selling back down into this range. Again, depending on how the dollar behaves and rates, I imagine, but keeping an eye out on that. US dollar, Canadian dollar. We had that set up in a post earlier this week. The trend is still down, but watching closely. If we can get strong buying, I'm definitely going to play the dollar reversal, but for now, the trend is still to the downside. Same thing, US dollar, Swiss franc. Trend is still down, but watching closely. US dollar, Japanese yen. It's been so choppy, I'm not even going to play that. It's a no touch, but it is reversing back into the range. But haven't been looking at it. And then US dollar, Mexican peso. So we got stopped out of this. The trend is still down, so it's probably a little early trying to play that breakout. But considering the trend is still down, I'm not going to beat myself up about that. Let's see how it acts next week. Ironically, this is the one pair that I still want to play to the downside despite being stopped out and despite my dollar worries, because it's got a lot of room just to get back to pre-COVID levels, and a lot of the other stocks and currencies and just overall market, asset markets across the board have kind of at least, come a lot closer to pre-COVID levels. This one's still a long ways away. So despite getting stopped out, I'm still looking to play this to the downside depending on what happens next week. So if we can roll back over down towards the end of the range, I'll reshort it. But for now, nothing new other than being stopped out. This is a similar setup now. So technically, in the U.S. dollar, South African rand, this is probably going to be a support area because it's going to close above the most recent down week here. However, the next trade might still be back into the range on a reversal. Still waiting to see how price reacts next week. Let's wait to see. But this kind of goes in line with this recent dollar strength. Even though the market is held up, the dollar has been perking its head up. And yeah, against the Mexican peso, I'm looking to sell, but against a lot of other things like the Australian dollar, euro, pounds, even though we're still long that, I'm a little more cautious because they've had much bigger runs. And what happened this week in the South African rand is a good example of how quickly it can, now it's back all the way to where it was in, essentially November. And get all this week. So when it does turn up, when the dollar does turn up, it can happen quickly because it's probably been a crowded trade. So just keep an eye out on that, but nothing new. VIX, we talked about the VIX going back down. It's stubbornly still holding above 20. At some point, it's going to come touch this 19 area. But the question is, does it explode back to 40 first? Hopefully not. It's not going to be good for the equity market. We own a lot of stocks. But for now, the trend is still down. So nothing new. Ripple got that reversal, still holding into this range. I mean, barring any new news, the trend is it's probably still higher. And you can use this 20 cents area as kind of a line in the sand. As long as we don't go below there, I think the trend is up. Maybe this will get some of the outperformance with Chainlink, and then Bitcoin and Ethereum will take a break, but we'll see. And the Dow, down day today, but trend is still higher. Bonds. The bond short is still active. Looks like it's losing a little bit of steam here, but again, I want to see it come. It's got to. If this downtrend has any juice, it's going to come touch 167. So let's see how it acts next week. This 1631 area I'm watching. You get any real strong close above there could actually be a reversal. So you might reverse from short to long, but for now, I'm going to stay short. And then last but not least is wheat. It was a great reversal play back into the range. Is now kind of turned into a range breakout. Let's see if it can hold up here. I have this 614 area. Again, down for 3 days in a row, but still kind of flagging up here. We get any significant selling below 630. I'll consider cutting the position and just taking profits. But if we can hold above here, then I still think there's higher prices, but we'll have to wait to see.